the lockdown is really against all evidence and, frankly, common sense. The policy itself is killing people. The policy of lockdown and total isolation has impaired and stopped most medical care. We are creating a massive catastrophe in healthcare and killing people by this very policy. But society must function. The cure here is worse than the original disease at this point.
Took a lot of courage back at the time to say that out loud. Dr. Scott Atlas was one of the men who did it. He's the author of the book, A Plague Upon Our House, My Fight at the Trump White House to Stop COVID from Destroying America. He's former White House Coronavirus Task Force advisor. Dr. Atlas, thank you for being here, sir. When you look back
Happy to be here.
on that time, what was there ever a moment when it was really hard for you to speak out? Was there ever a hesitation you had, or a moment when you really needed to muster your courage?
Well, there was never a hesitation. I mean, first of all, the President of the United States calls up asking for help. People are dying, and he's being fed wrong information by people who didn't know really the data or were incompetent. I mean, there's no hesitation. The reality is that it's my country, and I did everything I could to stop people from dying. It's sort of a no-brainer. The only problem was that, there was a lot of misinformation, and I hate to use that word, but there's a lot of really scandalously bad lies, false information, and incompetence, which made it even more urgent. It didn't make it that you could walk away.
Let's do the government science complex. Have they learned lessons from the mistakes of COVID, or do you think no?
Well, I think that there's an effort to avoid admitting error, and there's an effort to continue either lying about the people that were right, like myself, or simply hoping to, quote, turn the page. And this is a real problem, because we can't have a society that just says, oh, okay, we're on to the next thing. First of all, millions of people were killed and harmed severely by the policy itself. It's the biggest fiasco in public health history. Secondly, we can't heal and move forward as a society without the clear understanding of the public of what was true and what was not true. And the first step to restore the trust that has been squandered by the public health agencies, by the university scientists, by the so-called expert class, that trust is gone, and we need to restore it. And the first step in restoring it is for them to admit their error, just like it is in your personal life. That's the first step to restoring trust. So that stuff has not occurred. And this is, one of the concerns I have about the administration. One of my concerns is that there's a temptation to just turn the page and move forward, because people are tired of the COVID discussion. And there are other things to talk about, but I think that we cannot let that happen. We need to first and foremost see these official statements of the errors that were made, the official so-called truths about what happened, because the data is the data. The lockdowns, the school closures, the pseudoscience stuff about masks, this stuff needs to be stated as clearly that was all wrong, and we knew it, before we can move on to the next problems.
So policy is personnel, they say. What do you see are the differences between the group of people that Trump had around him?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you very well. You're going to have to speak louder.
Yeah, that's okay. Let me speak a little louder. What are the differences between the people that Trump surrounded himself with in 2020 versus the new group, health-related, that Trump has around him in this next administration?
Well, I think the first statement is there are two excellent appointments by President Trump in the health area. Jay Bhattacharya nominee for head of NIH, and Marty McCary, nominee for head of FDA. These are two excellent appointments. And I say excellent because these people have knowledge, they have integrity, and they have critical thinking skills, and I know them both personally. So that's a big step up. But the second part is we'll see. We have to see what happens. We can't just say, oh, the election, the side you wanted to win won, therefore everything is fine. No, I mean, we need accountability, not just for the people that were the political opponents. We need accountability for the people on all sides. Everyone is working for the American people, not themselves. And I think, of course, it remains to be seen. I mean, I agree. I'll say, the Make America Healthy Again, whatever you want to call it. Yes, I agree that we need to make sure safety is a top concern. We need to be anti-corruption, particularly with pharma, but with other sources. It's a great focus to say obesity is the biggest public health problem. There's no question about that. It's been ignored. But I have concerns, and partly, of course, it's unfair. Nothing has been done yet. They haven't even started. But we need to make sure we're not suddenly using the power of government for regulations and taxes on things like junk foods or sugary drinks, because this is just a replication of this elitist overreach on government. That's not the role of government. We need more information, but it's not we don't want to replicate this sort of leftist, elitist overreach that they know best and they're going to start regulating our behavior. No, we're a free country. We need to make sure that there's a priority on the real issues here. I mean, frankly, food coloring is not in my top 100 issues, but a lot of other things are. And then lastly, pharma has a lot of problems, and we know that. But to just hopefully we will not have this blunt war on pharma at the expense of all the positives that come out of America's pharmaceutical industry. For instance, the biggest advance aside from clean water in our health is drugs, okay, antibiotics and other drugs. That is the main reason why Americans have the best outcomes from cancer and, frankly, all serious diseases in the world because of this access and innovative sector of pharma. So, we need to not block the innovation, but still repair all of the corruption and all of the hidden data and all the problems with pharma. Of course, those are clear problems. So I'm looking for, with some optimism, some great changes, particularly by the people that I know there. And, we'll see. We need accountability. I mean, I want to see, for instance, I'll give you an example. To stop the corruption, I want to hear, and I have not heard yet, a pledge of, say, 5 years ban post-government service on taking a board or a job with the sector that you regulated. I mean, that's a clear conflict of interest that needs to be stopped. We need a ban on post-government service, at least for a certain number of years, to be on boards. We need term limits in the agency positions. I've not heard that yet. We can't have people like the Faucis of the world or the Deborah Birxes of the world that have 30 plus years working in agencies because they're unelected and they have their fiefdoms of power and they outlast administrations. And I think the elected people are the people that answer to the public. So we need to have these kinds of things, and I have not seen that yet.
I look forward to all these conversations. Dr. Scott Atlas, the book is A Plague Upon Our House, My Fight at the Trump White House to Stop COVID from Destroying America. Dr. Atlas, good to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for having me.
It's going to be a very interesting time here. On the, there's going to be, I don't call it a riff. There's going to be an interesting debate, conversation in the Make America Healthy Again movement about, and the conservative movement about like poison in our food, like the food babe was talking about in the first segment. The libertarian instinct is no, feds, don't ban stuff like that. And then my instinct right now is Maybe we shouldn't let companies poison people. Maybe that's like a sensible law that leads to human flourishing. I look forward to these conversations, this debate moving forward, but let's all agree now that health should be a conservative value once again. Mike Slater, First TV, spread the word.